Studio 9. We are the Black Caucus, and you guys are not invited to, but you are witnessing the Black Caucus Cookout. So we're talking about Black joy by any means necessary. And the reason why we chose a Black Caucus Cookout is because we all, when we were talking about different things, had brought up how people are always inviting others to the cookout and how that made us feel. A lot of times we've experienced when people have said Black people don't have culture, but then we're constantly coming across people who are taking from our culture or wanting to invite themselves into our culture. So we use this presentation to talk about not only why Black joy is necessary, but how our spaces are sacred. A lot of us have roots that start back to that we only know our roots that start back to slavery or only a couple of generations over. And you guys will learn the historical context of the cookout and who is there and what is there and the things we have in common and why we choose to keep that space sacred.
Reunions originate from emancipation, and many of us already know this. There's more to the story. Black family reunions originate from emancipation. And many of us already know this, but there's more to the story. Now, this article highlights the fact that we need to remember that Black family reunions are not just get-togethers, but a radical act. Now, recently, researchers found that over 4,500 ads were placed in newspapers by formerly enslaved Black people looking for their family members, and not just in the United States, but as far as Australia and China. And what's even more interesting is that Black family reunions and slavery are the reason that Black people practice fictive kinship, which is basically calling people that are not your blood relatives your cousin, auntie, or uncle. So let's get started and learn something new. In 2017, historian and author Judith Geisberg and her team of graduate research students decided to compile all of the ads they found between the 1830s and the 1920s and create this interactive map. The website is called informationwanted.org, or also known as Last Seen, Finding Family After Slavery. Now, you can actually click and find the ads. You can look at the actual ads that were placed, the newspaper clippings. Now, the map key is cut off, but the green is the possible location of the lost person, and blue is where the person was located that was looking for their lost family member. This article also highlights the Quander family, and you may have heard of them. Now, the Quander family has been having family reunions since 1926, but what's most interesting is the Quander family is considered the oldest documented Black American family, with roots tracing back to the 1600s, before the United States was even a country, and their origins are from Ghana. Research done by Dr. Julie Miller Cribbs that connected fictive kinship with emancipation, slavery, and Black family reunions. The elimination of slavery in the South helped give birth to the reunion. Then, after emancipation, you had people wanting to find each other, trying to find both blood kin as well as men and women who had acted as surrogate parents to them on the plantation, thus extending the notion of family beyond blood. This pattern of including non-blood or fictive kin appears to persist in current African American family reunions. Fictive kin is usually defined as individuals who are treated like relatives, but who are not related by blood or marriage. In the book Last Seen, she explains, no federal agency existed to help freed people locate loved ones after the Civil War ended. Instead, there were things like the Grapevine Telegraph, which she describes as a sophisticated system of surveillance by which enslaved people kept track of one another. And there were the ads, many of which were read aloud in Black churches. Those ads testified to the inner strength of people like Henry Tibbs, who was still placing ads in search of his mother when he was 55 years old. I hope you learned something new.
Yes, so that is one of the reasons why we chose this project, was because whether we have, our blood relatives or our fictive kinship with folks, it is a sacred space for us to be together. Now, at the family reunion, who we introducing? Being Black is not a monolith. So we chose people we chose characteristics of people in each of our personal families and who you might see at the cookout that you may or may not be invited to. The elders, Granny and Pawpaw. The elders of the family are traditionally the head of the table. They're respected. People wait on them, and you have to say hi to them as soon as you get in the room. You don't say hi to nobody else. You go straight to the elders. They're the matriarchs and patriarchs. They're typically retired. They may have lived down south before they migrated. They're constantly giving out advice, unwarranted or otherwise. They're the most treasured things in the family, and they're always telling family stories and trying to keep family history alive. They're also, they also tell you stories about folklore, traditional and non-traditional, and they always encourage the family to stay together. Sometimes they might get up and play a game of spades or horseshoes, help in the kitchen. They usually always say the prayer before the food and uphold family traditions. They're always at the center of the family photo, and in the Black community, they're beloved, treasured, and respected.
All right, so next in the cookout is the uncles or the unks. I chose this instantly as what I would present about because I feel like I'm moving into my unk stage in the family. So I'm not gonna read that to you. That's just like a framework. That just was like a framework that I thought about, just so you all can read. But the unk is like a sacred space. All men in the family aren't unks, but the unk kind of provides the security. They provide a sense of like a rites of passage for some of the younger fellas in the village. They give you the I remember when you were, or I remember your mama when she was so and so. They also provide a little bit of security. If the ladies bringing their fellas through, fellas got to meet Unc, and then Unc got to approve. We gotta kind of got to go through that screening process. They always on the grill. They always like bring a lighthearted atmosphere, and so that's pretty much the Unc.
Okay, so my identity that I chose to explore was like the weird, light, bright, too close to white, super artsy kind of character. And one of the things that I'll say, like the largest contributing attributes just being that like there's this, you're not accepted, you're not Black enough, you don't meet the like what is the criteria of Blackness, and that could be in the physical complexion, that could be in hobbies, that could be in likes and vocabulary, anything. And so thinking about some of the experiences that I had kind of growing up in that was this sort of othering, being in a space where I had to navigate the colorism of older generations, of my grandmothers and my aunts, who were very, I'll say, clear about favoring the lighter children, and then also navigating being sort of taunted and mistreated by the other children because of their favoritism, and thinking about all the ways in which I just wanted to be myself. And that meant I love Nina Simone and Evanescence, or like I can be that sort of weird, quirky person. Taking those experiences and having a lot of educational background in white spaces, and then going into college and being told that like, your savior, your great ability is your ability to be close to white. Being in spaces where just being considered the safe Negro, you can say this or that, or you're not like them kind of thing. And realizing as an adult that there was a lot of multifaceted healing that had to happen, a forgiveness of my own community for not seeing me, but also a forgiveness of myself, and just understanding that like getting away there was not success, right? And so when I think about like what is it that we bring to the cookout, or what is it that the artsy one, and it's all just about permission. One of the things that I was the most grateful for is like in researching this and looking for just different examples of like what is the weird Black person now. You really don't find it. And instead, there's all these beautiful nuanced communities of like, here's the Black nerd, or here's the blurred community, and here's the Black goth community, or here's the Black this and Black. And so that permission, those of us who kind of were the weird loners essentially gave permission to the generations that came after us to say, you can be everything that you want to be in all of these nuances of your personality, and there is no one unified way to be Black.
All right, so on this slide, we are calling out with some specificity our Afro-Caribbean siblings, but you can, think about it more generally about all of our non-US siblings across the African diaspora, right? They are also welcome to the Cookout. They are part of our community. In this, calling of our Afro-Caribbean siblings, they are bringing their strong Creole culture and island vibes to the Cookout. And the point here is we are acknowledging all of our differences and finding joy in the things that bring us together and those similarities as well. And then so someone else you might find at the Cookout is your youthful, revolutionary, Pan-African spirited sibling or cousin. They hold a vision for resistance. They are organizer, they're an educator, they often agitate. Some conflict they may have within, the Cookout or the family is even calling out the unsavory or the problematic dynamics that even are within the family as well as in the outside world. They are an important part of the Cookout experience, again, in terms of keeping that future visionary vision of freedom.
Alrighty, so typically, whether you're at like a family function or you're with friends, whatever the case may be, you're just gonna be someone who's always there that has a camcorder out, a camera out, or their phone out, just because they want to be able to relive those moments and those memories. So that is gonna be your storyteller cousin. That's gonna be someone that is gonna go in and make sure that we still have these family photos, that it's there for generations. They're gonna make sure that they capture different hairstyles. They're gonna capture different dance moves. They're gonna do all that fun stuff. So that is going to be your storyteller cousin. They're very important because, like I said, they keep those memories. So for generations to come, you have those pictures. You're able to identify who is who and what is what. So that's going to be that cousin. After that, we're just going to get straight into it. This is going to be the person that's not invited, which, we said this was coming. Okay, so this slide is just basically going to represent the one that is not invited. So this is going to be people who want access to Black culture, but they are not wanting to have that responsibility or the community that kind of comes with that. So they love like the aesthetic of Blackness. So they love the music, the slang, the fashion, everything of that sort, but not exactly the lived experience. And they really want to be involved and have that invitation, but not necessarily the full involvement that comes with it. So we all pretty much kind of know the type of this person, right? So they kind of cheer for our culture publicly, but when it's time to kind of stand with us, they stand quietly to the side and they enjoy our joy, but kind of avoid our struggle. So what they kind of bring to the Cookout, if they do, is surface level allyship. So they're present, but they kind of lack authenticity or depth.
At the family reunion, what we introducing, okay? And a lot of this is stuff we do, and we do a lot more too, but this is what we will share with the people who are and are not invited. Why this is a sacred space, places. Family reunions and barbecues are always held in a communal space. That's my family up there, y'all. Whether it's a public park, land, the family owns a historic city, a place that holds significance to the family, or a family member's backyard, the place is super important. You need to be able to sit in the shade, play games, cook, and eat the food, dance, and have a good time. The place is just as important as everything else, if not the most important part, and holds a bold significance to the family.
Okay, so in thinking about food, I actually want to share a story. So Ossie Davis, who is an actor and playwright and activist, shared this story that his mother told him that his great grandmother lived firsthand. And so I'm just going to tell it first person. So imagine that gathered around is a bunch of slaves, and they've realized that there are only 7 hogs left out of hundreds that they have for the season. It's the dead of winter. It's the end of the year. There will be no more hogs. There will be no more food. There will be no more meat. And so one of the slaves rushes off to the master in a panic, a frenzy. Oh my God, something's wrong with the hogs. All the 7 remaining hogs are spread out and they're all dead. He comes rushing over, and a huge crowd of the slaves are gathering around the hogs, but not really wanting to touch them, not wanting to go near them because they have metallitis. And so one of the slaves explained to him, like, all of these hogs that were just fine yesterday, we woke up and they were all dead like this. The master says, cut them apart. We have to save this meat for the winter because this is the only meat that we'll have left. The slaves apprehensive, we don't want to eat this meat and get sick, knowing that the master's not going to serve this to himself, but they do as they told. So once he leaves, they sort of high five. We got it, because metallitis meant the biggest one took a mallet and beat the hogs until they died so they could create this sort of problem so that they would have access to the meat, knowing that he wouldn't serve it or eat it for himself. And so just that community around food, that saving each other through food, that always preparing and having a space and a plate, no matter where you came from. Even if you're not invited to stay, you can take a plate, baby.
So of course, music and dance is such a significant part of the cookout, of the family reunion experience as well, right? We know both dance and music are these connectors across the African diaspora. When we think about dance, we know it is a tool for kinetic knowledge transfer, right? So there are ways we can learn about ourselves, about our community, about our histories that words can never tell, right? That words can never tell us. And the same with music, right? It is the rhythms from across the African diaspora that connect us and are a way for us to heal together.
Alrighty, so activities. So we did discuss, I think, spades in the beginning. Yeah. All right, so the games are kind of going to be used as like the cookout things to bring everyone together. It's about exclusion and protecting kind of all those sacred spaces. So what we're going to talk about is the spades. So spades originated during the Great Migration, actually. It was an affordable, joyful escape from daily struggles. And so learning spades marks a cultural milestone. So with that, once you're kind of trusted to play the game, you've earned your seat at the table. Exactly. You gotta be.
If you overbid.
Yeah, you're done. Now you have to get up, and it's bad. Okay. So dominoes, Uno, horseshoes, these games kind of represent community, strategy, and laughter. So everyone kind of has a story or argument or something from one of these games at a game night. And they're just how we bond, we compete, and we kind of connect across different generations. So these games kind of provide more than just like little entertainment things, but they just build belonging, trust, and an invitation into our shared culture. So they just keep traditions alive, just to give everyone, young and old, a way to connect.
White man does the popular dance, the whoa, while reporting the weather. Comment section reads, Tom definitely invited to the cookout. Another video shows a white man dancing on stage and the caption reads, it's obvious why Mark is invited to the cookout, where we slide like black lightning across the backyard and turn it into a dance for the cookout, be sacred. But ain't that just like us? Inviting everyone into our holy place is crazy. How all you gotta do is know how to Dougie to dodge accountability. Wash white privilege out with a whip and a nay-nay, they call it muscle memory. They've been whipping nay-nay for centuries. Crazy how when we dance, we get called coons. But Brad dances and gets an honorary plate full of ribs. We keep feeding them like they didn't force chitlins down our throats. Keep dancing. They shuck and jive their way to acceptance, and it's appalling how easily we forget just because Becky can footwork and Alex Allie makes foo-foo. Invitations for the cookout flying off the shelf in the comment section. Hey, bro, do you remember when we invited one of them to our Bible study? 9 of us were told well done that night. So excuse my caution for Caucasians casually crip walking for convenience, lying and line dancing, looking like a fool. The cookout, man, they used to cook us out over open fires, cut pieces of our flesh off, mason jar our hands, claiming can't nobody catch a beat like him. They watching Soul Train reruns, but won't let us teach their children about the Underground Railroad. So look, since when did dancing erase Jim Crow? Since when did dancing erase school to prison pipeline? Since when did dancing erase redlining? So before you mail out your cookout invitations, remember that they used to think of us as stiff body boogie down chattel. They used to make us dance across the decks of ships, and some of us leapt to freedom gracefully. The break of the water surface was a pearly gate of Jate into the Lord's arms, and the cookout so packed with pale faces, it ain't no room for my grandkids, and I refuse to ask for space. In my space, I'm indigenous to the groove and the potato salad. Invite me to the country club. Hold the casserole. Let's talk about reparations. Maybe then we could talk about cookouts. Until that happened, all cookout invitations are revoked. Period. Management. Thank you.
So, in conclusion, the cookout is a sacred space where we not only talk about our traditions, keep individual family traditions, keep traditions of our culture, but also keep it sacred so that Black people can have a safe space in the world that we are to experience our joy. A lot of times we hear how resilient we are, and it took a lot of resilience to even create family reunions and cookouts, and the Black Caucus chooses to keep cookouts a sacred space. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, put the baby in the